Happy Memorial Day to you folks. Jason Pritchard here with you, host of Cold Rain's Weather World, coming at you with your Memorial Day forecast. And we've got a wet Memorial Day, unfortunately, for many of us out there. We're going to take a look at exactly who's seeing the rain out there now, what we can expect as we go through the day. And of course, we're going to look at the upcoming work week too. We've got severe weather on the horizon tomorrow, this afternoon, Wednesday. We've got several days of severe weather to get to. We've got some heavy rain falling, unfortunately, too, with onto areas that have seen lots and lots of rain already. So we've got flash flood watches that are up, and we'll take a look at that excessive rain threat and show you who's going to be getting the bulk of all of that heavy rain as we go through the next couple of days, so you can prepare for that. But we're going to start here by taking a look at our alerts map, and you can see those flood watches that I was talking about. These are up for the bulk of the afternoon and the evening and overnight tonight for many of these areas. We're seeing thunderstorms move through, repeated rounds of thunderstorms. Got a lot of moisture content in the atmosphere, which we're going to take a look at here in a minute. But these are just making very efficient use of rainfall. So Tulsa down to Wichita Falls, Dallas, Fort Worth, over to Shreveport, up into Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Jonesboro, places like that. You guys are under the gun for heavy rain. Even got a little dense fog advisory up here in Kansas and Colorado. So places like St. Francis, Goodland, you all are seeing some fog. Just take it easy if you're driving around out there this morning. Otherwise, fairly tranquil conditions dominate the country. Here's the radar, folks, and you can see showers up here in the Pacific Northwest, not too much going on there. A couple of showers, some steadier rain here as we get into South Dakota, into Nebraska and Kansas. And then really the big cluster of rain is down here, just moving out of Dallas and on into Louisiana, Arkansas, places like that. It's raining very heavily here. And then spotty showers where old cold rain is here in Morganton. It is drizzly, it is cloudy, it's raining. It's going to be that way for bulk of the day. So just nuisance showers over here in the Carolinas and Virginia. And so we're seeing lots of heavy rain down here. There's even been some severe weather this morning. Kind of zoom in here and you can see that rain moving through Shreveport. This is a predicted radar. If we go to the current place, there it is right there. Let's get back to current so we can see. So Shreveport just experienced big band of heavy rain move through there, all the way down into Texas and into Arkansas and Mississippi. So big heavy rain going on down here that's going to persist through the next several hours. So if you're driving around, be careful down there. Looking at our work week forecast. So who's going to see rain this week? We're going to do this first. So we're going to show you the work week forecast, temperature forecast, then we're going to get into the actual severe weather hazard that's out there for today and the next couple of days. And we'll take a look at the flash flooding threat too. And we'll wrap it up with some increasing sunspot activity. We've got our sun that's waking up now from this little mini slumber that it's been in. It could start to send some solar winds and solar flares our way, which could interfere with the magnetic field, causing auroras. We're going to take a look at that here in just a minute. So this is a map that shows the precipitation, at least as the model sees it, that has fallen over a 24-hour period. So we're ending this interval tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. East Coast time. And you can see this is all the rain that would have fallen today and tonight. And so these are the areas that you can pay attention to expect rain over the course of the day. A couple showers up here in New England, not out of the question. Some clouds up here, same in the Pacific Northwest. But we start to get into the Central Plains. This is where the bulk of the rain is falling. So the legend is, a tenth of an inch here at the green, and you get into the blues, that's a half an inch or more. And then the yellows, oranges, whatever you want to call these, the light yellows, an inch or more, you start to get to 2 inches where you see these deeper oranger colors. So, looking at this, you're going to see the bulk of the rain over here in the Arklatex area with potentially a couple of inches of rain falling, even more in spots with these thunderstorms. So anywhere in the plains, down here in the southeast, you're going to see Tennessee Valley, plenty of rain for your Memorial Day. Other places around the country looking a little bit better. The big area of rain shifts to the east, the Tennessee Valley up into the Ohio Valley, starting to push into the mid-Atlantic. Plenty of rain in the southeast tomorrow. So southern plains up into the Great Lakes and eastward, with the exception of New England and the, northern mid-Atlantic. You're going to be out of the woods up there. But most everybody else here in the east is going to see plenty of rain tomorrow. On into Wednesday, another little trough swinging in here, and the plains going to ignite some more rain through the plains, southern plains, and the lower Mississippi Valley, southeast. Great Lakes, we've got a big upper level low that's going to come back into the Great Lakes, kind of sit there and bring unsettled weather to the East Coast, with the exception of northern New England. West, you're looking pretty good on Wednesday. On Thursday, same out west, but then in the in the southeast again, so really central plains south into the east and up into the northeast now can see plenty of shower activity on Thursday and Friday. Everything's kind of pushing off to the east a little bit. Still some rain activity over Texas. A lot of folks in southeast or southwest Texas that need the rain, so good for you all getting a little bit of rain, but up and down the east coast. But the big signal for the heavier rain is down here along the southeast coast. Now, here's what our pattern looks like as we go out over the next 5 days or so. So right now we've got a big blocking area blocking up in Canada. This has been slowing the pattern down. We've seen cutoff after cutoff kind of come in. We've got a trough that's back here in the southwest. This is acting to impinge on some warmer and moister air to create all of this severe weather that we've been seeing out in the plains, okay? So that's going to persist and then slowly move east over the next couple of days. And then look what happens. We get this cutoff developing over the Midwest as we go into Wednesday morning. And this is going to do a couple of things. It's going to allow ridging to form back out here in the west. It's going to raise temperatures and keep a lid on precipitation out there. It's going to pump up heights here along the east coast. We're talking midweek now, and that is going to keep temperatures above normal along the East Coast, keep it dry up here in New England and above normal up there, and unsettled and cooler here in the central part of the country. And we can watch this unfold as we go through Thursday. That slides east toward the lake, so we're starting to see a response here in the center of the country with a little bit more cloud cover, cooler temperatures, very warm out west, big ridge poking all the way up into Canada, another ridge over here just east of New England. And as we go on into Friday and in the end of the week, look at this big trough in the east. So this has developed into a full latitude trough now. So the entire East Coast is going to start to eventually dry out, but we're going to see some cooler temperatures as we get close to the weekend. Warm out west and still got ridging up in Canada. So that's why we're seeing these cutoffs develop, unfortunately. So that's what the upper air pattern looks like. Looking at the temperature anomalies, so as we're here in Monday, bulk of the northern United States, with the exception of a little area here in Montana and Idaho down into Nevada, and then the southeast, we're seeing below normal temperatures, okay? So watch these blue anomalies as we go through the week. There it is, center of the country, cooler than normal as we get into Wednesday, warmer than normal out west, much warmer than normal, a little bit more warmer than normal in the southeast. And then, of course, in the northeast, we're warmer than normal there too. Rolling this on forward through Thursday and Friday, you can kind of see the signal here as we get on into the weekend, that full latitude trough starting to develop. So cooler than normal conditions as we end the work week in the east, warmer than normal out west, and you've already seen the precipitation. But just looking at our temperature map here, let's do it a way where we can actually see the map. So I'm going to show it to you this way. I'll just drag it over here. But 80s for the most part today for your Memorial Day, 70s, 80s, and 90s, even some hundreds showing up in South Texas, 90s in Florida today. Cooler across the north, 60s and 70s as we get up in here into the northeast, Great Lakes, and over into the northern plains, a little warmer out west, cooler up in the Cascades, of course. So we get into tomorrow. A little warmer starting to build, warm air starting to build into the west, warm across the south, but that warm sector is starting to get pinched a little bit more, and we're seeing 60s and 70s across the north, starting to warm up here in New England as that trough works in midweek. It's going to pump these heights up out here, so that's what we're going to see. And then as we get on into Wednesday afternoon, really starting to warm up in New England, approaching 80, some 50s and 60s around the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, on into the Central Plains, warm across the north under the ridging that's up there, 90s poking all the way up into Washington State, up and down the western fourth, fifth of the country there, and then 80s and 90s along the south as we get into Thursday. Much of the same, starting to continuing to warm up across the border into the west and the south, still 60s and 70s up in the center part of the country, a little bit below normal there. And then as we get into Friday, I'm not sure what's going on with the color scale. There we go. Warming up for the most of the western part of the country except for the Rocky Mountains, and then 60s and 70s across much of the northeast. This is going to be cooling down below normal. One last shot before we start to potentially get into some really hot weather over the course of June. So we'll keep that for another time, but that's what our temperature profile looks like as we go through the week. So now you know how to plan above normal for the 6 to 10 day period. This is May 31st to the first part of June, so really June the 4th. Above normal out west into the north, and then near normal to below in the eastern part of the country, with the exception of Florida. Alaska looking below normal. Hawaii looking above normal. Precipitation wise, we're finally seeing some above normal signals in the southwest where we've been needing some rain. So that looks pretty good. Below normal out in the east. Again, this is the very end of May, first part of June. We're going to see some dry as that trough kind of works off the coast. We get on the backside of it. Northwesterly flow going to dry us out. Above normal in Alaska and Hawaii. And now taking a look at our storm reports from yesterday. Okay, we're going to transition, take a look at the severe weather threat. And we're going to start by looking at the storm reports from yesterday. A lot of wind here. So we had 276 reports overall. This is from the SPC's page. Some of these, a couple tornadoes out here. I don't think there was extensive damage, but people saw some spotters, saw some tornadoes, a lot of wind reports. But check this out. Oh my goodness. Hail just to beat the band. These black, you can kind of scroll down here and see this, but the black ones is maybe hard to see on your screen. The black lines is significant hail, 2 inches or greater. We're seeing tons and tons of that. Check this one out. 6-inch hail, folks. That is ridiculous here in Dickens, Texas. 4-inch hail in Dickens. So Dickens took the brunt. We're seeing tons of reports of 4 to 6-inch hail all across Dickens. Okay, so that is unbelievable. That's baseball cap size, and I know that because it says it right here in the note. It said partially melted hailstone about the size of a baseball cap. Oh my goodness, that is massive. 5-inch, 4.5-inch. So giant hail. Hopefully that didn't fall on anybody. I don't know if it did or not, but that is too big to be falling on anybody. That is ridiculous. Going to see more hail today, potentially getting up into the 3-4 inch range as well. So what's driving it? Cape and cooling aloft. So when you have really strong updrafts fueled by strong instability, which you can see as we go through the afternoon, this is our instability. Remember, thunderstorm gas, your car needs gas, thunderstorms need gas, and they also need something to ignite them, or it just stays gas in a car and the car doesn't go anywhere just because it's got gas in it. You have to turn the car on and hit the accelerator. Well, we've got plenty of fuel here for the thunderstorms. We've got a dry line impinging. We've got outflow boundaries, so these things kind of ignite convection. But look at this, getting up close to 4,000 joules per kilogram. This is going to drive vigorous, violent updrafts with air accelerating upward, holding those raindrops, suspending them up into the freezing zone, and that process repeats, and you get these bigger and bigger hailstones. They finally have enough weight to fall through these vigorous updrafts, and of course, the stronger the updraft is, the more weight it takes to fall back down through it, and that's why you get big hailstones, particularly when you have lower freezing levels like we do. So that's what's going on here. Looking at this afternoon, we're seeing Cape just develop, and then the thunderstorms will eat that up, and you'll still see some of that persist in eastern Texas. We go through the nighttime hours, plenty of Cape along the southern portion of the country here. That'll redevelop tomorrow afternoon, not quite as vigorously, it doesn't look like, so we may not see quite as large of a threat of severe hail tomorrow, but certainly plenty of Cape around, and so we could see severe thunderstorms, and some of those could persist into the evening. As a matter of fact, taking a look here at the National or the Storm Prediction Center, big area of enhanced risk. That's a level 3 risk over central Texas. That's going to include places like San Antonio and Austin, places like that. And then we're going to see that threat kind of move into Shreveport here as well, the slight risk. Marginal threat around that. So anywhere in the marginal threat, you could see severe weather potentially as well. Low tornado threat, bigger wind threat. So those supercells are going to form, produce wind, produce hail. Then they're going to develop into these little complexes that are going to move through and enhance the wind threat. But look at this, 30% chance of significant hail this afternoon. Tomorrow, sort of the same story. This maybe a little bit south here in Texas. That threat comes down a little bit farther south, and then also in Louisiana. We could see this shift around a little bit too, but the threat persists through the southeast. Got a cold frontal boundary that's a little frontal zone that's snagged up over here in the southeast. That's going to help focus some of that low-level moisture, produce showers and thunderstorms, where we see larger capes, where we could see those wind and hail threats. So this is what that looks like. Again, larger hail potentially back over into Texas, but that's what we're looking at, folks. And then as we get into Wednesday, just a marginal risk as of now. That could change. We could add a level 2 risk in here if we as we get through the week, but that's what it looks like. Regarding the flooding threat, though, that's the other kind of hazard that we're looking at. Precipitable water, we've taken a look at this. This is just how much water is through the entire layer of the atmosphere, really. And so where you see these yellows and reds, where you've got deep moisture, very rich moisture coming in off the Gulf, and that just persists as we go through the course of the next few days. Tuesday afternoon. Once you start to get into these greens, it's a little bit less in the way of moisture, and you're going to see less efficient thunderstorm and shower production from any storms that develop. So you could lessen the rain amounts is what I'm trying to say there. But as we go on through Wednesday and Thursday, that threat shifts east a little bit. And so we're seeing the moisture content begin to push farther and farther south into the east as we move through the week. Excessive rainfall we're looking at here. Let's do this. Let me scroll up here, get out of that so you can see all of this. There's our excessive rainfall. Let me go back to another display, and this will even center it up better. All right, so there we go. Excessive rainfall, slight risk from Texas all the way into Tennessee. So you can see that. That is today. Tomorrow sort of breaks this up funky, but anywhere from Virginia, down here, southern Ohio, I guess Cincinnati, all the way down into southeast Texas near El Paso, anywhere, or southwest Texas, I should say, anywhere in those areas, look for potential flash flooding threats and warnings as the day unfolds. That is tomorrow, okay? So here's what we're looking at for total precipitation. These reds indicate 3 inches or more, and we're certainly seeing places in here that look like they have 4 and 5 inches, and this is just a prediction from the Weather Prediction Center. Of course, they can't tell you exactly who's going to see 3 inches, but anywhere in these areas, you have a high likelihood of seeing heavy rain. So pay attention from Texas to central and southern Mississippi, most of Alabama and parts of Georgia up into Tennessee and the mountains of North Carolina could see a few inches of rain. Watch for flash flood watches and warnings to be issued as we go through the week out here. We're certainly seeing those already in the Arklatex area today. So be careful if you're driving around. Do not drive over a flooded roadway, as you know, as we've talked about here. Now, our sun has been quiet. We've seen very little activity in the way of sunspots, except for the past couple of days. We saw an X1 solar flare from a departing sunspot. That's this bright here. If I click on that, we can see this a little bit better. This bright area is a sunspot. It's leaving. It's going around that way. And then we've got a new active area of sunspots working in. And we've got this big coronal hole here. Look at this. This is going to shoot out essentially solar wind is going to come out of this, and if it's dense enough, it's going to interact with the magnetic field like we've talked about. But this sunspot over here has been very active. This one is starting to be active. You can see these just umbral streams here coming out of this. We'll probably see some activity from this as it starts to turn toward us. So we're going to watch for all of that. May have some aurora viewing possible later on in the week. Not much so far this early part of the week. So that's what's going on with the sun, and you can see that sunspot activity here. There's one turning toward us, but it's not doing very much. This one's a much bigger deal, and I can't really show you that anymore. I try to maximize it, but it brings it off the screen. But in any event, that's the one we're going to watch out for, folks. And that's your weather update for today. So hopefully it'll be a happy Memorial Day for you. There are some hazards out there, so pay attention to any alerts that are issued for your area. Be safe. Have a safe Memorial Day, but have a good week ahead. I'll be back with another full episode of Cold Rain's Weather World in the AM. In the meantime, take care, folks, and we'll see you back soon.